Hello and welcome to Talk of the Bay on K-Squid Community Radio for the Monterey Bay area. I'm your host, Rachel Ann Goodman, and it's my pleasure to be here. Tonight on the program, we're going to be looking at a new organization in the Monterey Bay that looks to take the best of what's happening in churches and turn it into a community benefit. We'll be talking about that in the first half of the program. And then in the second half, we'll be speaking about a lawsuit against the state of California for not regulating properly pesticides that are sprayed in our fields. That'll be in the second half of Talk of the Bay right now on K-Squid. Joining me today is Kischka Bluspiro. Kischka is one of the organizers for the Sunday Assemblies. Sunday Assemblies, well, you can tell us what they are. Hi, welcome to the program.
Hi. Sunday Assembly is, it was something that was actually started in 2013, I believe, in London. A couple of comedians named Sanderson Jones and Pippa Evans decided that they wanted to have a space for people who were not necessarily churchgoers to have that same kind of community vibe that people get at church, singing together, meeting together, eating together. And so they started Sunday Assembly, and within a couple of months, they had a couple hundred people attending every month. And shortly after that, other groups started popping up around the world, groups in the U.S. and the U.K., and there were actually some in Europe at the time. And
how long ago was that?
So that they started in 2013, and then by the next year, 2014, there were already at least 20 other groups, I think.
So they've been going around 12 years. How many countries are they in now, do you know?
Right now, as far as I know, they're mostly in the United States and the United Kingdom. But there is, I think, a group that's going to be starting up in the Netherlands, maybe one in France. And I think I even saw one, I can't remember now, in, what's the new name of the country that used to be Burma?
Myanmar?
Yeah, maybe possibly Myanmar.
Wow,
there
everywhere.
Was, so there's about, I think, 40 groups currently going. And I heard about it shortly after it started. NPR did a story about it, and my wife and I listened to it and thought, that sounds really, really cool. And so at that time, there was a group in Silicon Valley that had already started and was going and had about 100 regular attendees. So we went with our family, and we really liked the community feeling there, but we also felt like it wasn't our community. It was in San Jose. Those weren't going to be the kids that our kids would play with, or the people that we could, get together with regularly. So we attended once or twice, and after that, we kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about it a lot, about trying to start one in Santa Cruz. And then a couple of years ago, I retired from my job at the university and have been kind of dedicating myself to getting this started since then.
Well, you're doing it at a time where people, I think, are hungry for connection because, we're still recovering from COVID. There's a lot of unrest in the world, and maybe that's what's driving people to want to gather in groups and do what you were saying is the good part, if there's a judgment to be made. But the long, non-coercive parts of religion that people go to church for, which is to meet their neighbors and sing together. You mentioned singing.
Right.
So do you find hymns that aren't religious?
Most of the groups sing pop songs. So, it could be John Lennon or the Beatles.
Beatles church, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the groups have their own band, and they'll practice and rehearse the songs ahead of time and really do a big production for the music. Because we're just getting started, we're doing kind of karaoke style for now, but I am hoping to find live musicians who want to come and play sort of a sing-along style.
Those are the best kind, I've always felt, the live ones. There's actually a live rock Shabbat at the temple, and that's very popular.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
You're on the right track. Maybe they'll come on over. So where does this happen? I imagine the biggest challenge of starting something where a bunch of people are gathering is just having a venue, right?
Exactly, yeah. We've had several different venues so far, but in March, we're going to be starting at our new venue, which is the Capitola Branch Library. I've been working with the librarian for quite a while, and they just now are starting to be open on Sundays. But we'll actually be there at 11 a.m. And the library doesn't open until 1 p.m. So we've got a 3-month pilot going, I guess, while the library evaluates if we fit in, well with their programming and that sort of thing.
Wow.
But previously we've met in a mobile home park community room. We've had just casual gatherings at coffee shops. We've done a movie night and a sing-along in my front yard. Most recently, we were meeting at a place called Pi-Fi downtown, which is a new AI startup that's there who generously donated the space for us to use for the last couple of months.
Well, it's really important to have the place that feels comfy and welcoming to people. And you mentioned that as being one of the things churches do. Is there any reason they chose to have them on a Sunday, which is the typical day people go to church?
Yeah, I think it was very deliberate that they were trying to create that space on a day when people usually gather. They wanted a place for secular gatherings as well, people that... I think in particular in the UK, there's really a lot of skepticism about religion, church, and I think their church-going population is a little bit lower than in the U.S. But also in states in the U.S., like, say, in the South, where, kind of the first question people ask is, what church do you go to? This provides an alternative for people where everyone around them is going to church. They have something to do on a Sunday morning, too.
They can say what church they belong to. Is there a danger of it turning into a church because maybe there's something inherent in the spirituality of people gathering in a common purpose?
I never thought about that. But really, the Sunday assemblies I've been to and the ones I've heard about really don't focus on any kind of spirituality at all. There's no mention of deities. There's no mention of even, things like more esoteric kind of spirituality practices. It's really just all about the here and now.
No one sneaks in the mention of Zarathustra or anything.
No.
Snuck that in there.
No.
Snuck a Bible in the door. Well, that's really interesting. I was talking to one of my students who wrote a story, who he's going to tell in my storytelling class, about his journey with the church. And he had moved to a new area. He was really lonely, but his parents did not want him to go. They didn't want anything to do with church because one of their sons was trans. And but the other boy was very lonely, and so he begged his parents to go to this youth group, which he went to, and there was a sermon all about loving your neighbor and accepting people for who they are. And he was like, great, this sounds really good. Maybe my brother can come. So he threw a weather balloon out and said, well, what about bisexual people? You think they would be okay? And the pastor's like, absolutely not. And it says right here in the Bible. And that was when he left for good. And it was sad because he was all ready to sign up. But they were saying yes, but not for everyone. And I think in this country that may be why a lot of people don't go to organized religion, because it's not accepting of all people. And you said you're married to a woman, and maybe did you ever go to church? Or
as a kid, I did go to church, but my parents weren't real church goers. They stopped going when I was pretty young, so
it wasn't because of your orientation.
No,
or anything.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never been a religious person. I consider myself a secular humanist, and so it's never been something that I desired. But there are a lot of people who come to Sunday Assembly who have previously been churchgoers. And then there are people who have had kind of what you describe sort of religious harm, they call it, where they've had such a bad experience with church or church-going or religion that even the format of Sunday Assembly is a little too church-like for them, the singing as a group.
It's
Even though
triggering.
even though we're singing
Aw.
Beatles songs, it just brings back some of that trauma to them. So it's not for everyone.
Maybe they didn't listen to John Lennon's lyrics saying,
Yeah.
in Imagine, he says, and no religion, too.
Yeah.
But that's wonderful that you get together and sing Beatles songs. The other thing churches seem to do is to do public service. Is that part of the mission of these assemblies?
Yeah, it is actually. So there are 3 kind of mottos of Sunday Assembly in general, and those are live better, help often, and wonder more. So doing some kind of service is definitely a part of all the Sunday Assemblies. What they do varies widely. Sometimes it's collecting donations for a charity. Sometimes it's working with some organization or doing a beach cleanup, or it can be anything. I've kind of got in mind that if the library works out as our venue, I talked to the librarian about us doing some sort of service for the library, and she was really excited about that idea that we'd have a cadre of volunteers to help out.
That sounds really like a wonderful thing to do for the community. And how many people could you accommodate in this space that's a trial period at the Capitola Library?
So the community room there has a capacity of 60. So far at our gatherings that we've had so far, I think we've had less than 15 at each one, but I really am hoping to get more. I kind of consider the March 1st assembly to be our grand opening, because we'll be in this larger venue, and what I'm hoping can be a permanent venue. So I'm really trying to get the word out so that we can get as many people as possible.
Now, one other feature, and you can tell I'm not a churchgoer because I'll probably misname these roles in churches, that there's a pastor or someone who's a great orator who can kind of, for everyone, bring people together in some sort of common space or thought, or read a poem or whatever, somebody who can lead things. Is that something you're doing right now for this group?
For the time being, but I generally the Sunday Assemblies tend to be a little more democratic in the way they're run. So they'll have one person will be the MC for a month, and then a different person from the group will be the MC the next month. So I just have gotten some people who are really interested in helping, and I'm hoping to spread out that job amongst different people so that it's not really centered on one person as the leader.
That sounds great. So if you have public speaking skills and you just want to bring some joy to a group of people, this would be a great opportunity to maybe read a poem or a passage from a book that is meaningful, that isn't that one book that everyone reads.
Yeah, and our format, actually, most of the Sunday Assemblies follow a somewhat similar format where they'll have a song, they'll have a theme for the week, and they'll have a speaker come and talk about that. And that's my plan too, so that it's not anyone from our group necessarily speaking each week, but it's someone talking about something related to our theme.
What are some examples of themes you have in mind to do?
Well, some of the ones we've done so far, we did community, and then we did how are you holding up?
That one was such a loaded question.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a group of women right earlier today about that question, and it's not an easy one to answer because most people, if they answer it glibly, are being fake because not very many people are doing really great right now.
Yeah.
And do you really want to know is the response you often get?
Yeah, I mean, that one came to me around the holidays when I was just thinking about how hard the holidays are for some people, and how a lot of us are struggling right now anyway because of the political climate and just what's going on in the world.
We are talking about it amongst my political friends as a psyops operation that we're all being subjected to. In other words, a lot of the imagery being done is performative to scare and intimidate people, and also just make them feel sick to their stomach, which it's working. So any kind of recovery that we can do to reclaim our joy, even as we're trying to make things better and do things, that's the best antidote to despair is action. But that idea that a lot of people are carrying a lot of fear, and that cloud is there. Even if you're having a great life in the moment, there's a feeling of impending worry.
Yeah.
A lot of people. It's great that you're just having a group talk about that, because maybe that lightens the load so people don't feel alone, because it is a societal thing that's happening here. It's not individuals.
Yeah, for sure. At that one, that was a couple of months ago, and we did like a word cloud. We had people entering, how are they feeling right now, and created a word cloud, and you could kind of see your feelings that were also shared by other people in the group. Those words would be larger in the word cloud. And then we got together in small groups, and we each talked about the strategies that we use for coping, when we're having a difficult time. What do we do? So then we ended up with, a big list of different strategies that people are using.
What was the biggest word you found?
I can't remember what it was. There were family problems. There was the political climate. There was fear. There were a lot of the things that you might think people would have going on right now.
It would be interesting to do it before and after you had the list of what people could do, like the next week or the next month. Go ahead, by the way, did you do any of these things, and was it helpful?
Yeah, that would be good. So far, we've had a lot of people coming and kind of trying it out, and we haven't had necessarily a bunch of people coming back. My hope is that eventually that's what we get. At least a core group of people that it's their regular thing to do on the first Sunday of the month.
You mentioned that you have kids. Are there kids activities? Because that can draw parents in.
Yeah. So that is something I was really hoping to be able to do. It's actually why I picked the Capitola Branch Library, because there's the playground outside. But it turns out that the library has rules about activities with children there, and they have to have a staff person in the room with you at all times, and they're not staffed to do that right now. So at this time, it's only for adults, but I do hope in the future that we're going to be able to either find a space where we can do that, or work with the library to make that happen eventually.
Well, they could go on a beach cleanup.
Yeah.
That's outdoors.
Yeah, we could send the kids off, but some kids are too young to do that. Some kids don't want to be separated from their parents. So
I guess I meant like the whole group could take their kids on a beach cleanup and have a positive thing going on there.
Yeah, we could definitely do other activities that are not the monthly assembly that include children.
Yeah. What do you think is driving the interest in this all over the world? Like, I know our country is, there are people who claim we're a Christian nation, despite history and the multitude of religions represented in our country. What do you think's driving that in, like, the UK? You mentioned, like, a feeling of anti-religion, but what do you think's behind that? Same kind of thing here, or what?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I actually have a British friend that I was talking to and, telling her, I know there's got to be a Sunday Assembly near you because there's a bunch in the UK. And she looked at the website and said, well, it looks like it's a cult to me. Ooh. And it's funny because that is one of the things that the people who started it actively were trying to push back against the idea that this was a cult, and they made like a funny video, saying we are not a cult.
There are so many cults, and they form around usually a very charismatic leader. Unfortunately, one of my family members a long time ago got sucked into one, and we had a lot of experience, unfortunately, trying to get them out. So this doesn't sound cultish to me. It sounds like an anti-cult. If you think about religion as a cult, then this is kind of the antidote to get together with people who want to just hang out and sing Beatles songs. Uh-huh. Do you know there's a Beatles jam in Santa Cruz County?
I did not know that.
There is. You might want to reach out to Dan Frechette, who sings, every Beatles song, and there's a whole band that knows all the parts.
And do people sing along, or is
they
it
do?
Just,
No, they bring the books. They were at the Brookdale Lodge. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. There must have been 50, 60 people there, all singing Beatles songs.
Wow, that sounds really fun.
And the band nailed every single break. There's a guy named Jeff Ebbage who plays all the leads. It's really fun. Just an aside, that's Beatles Church. But
Yeah.
there is one, and they sometimes go to Monterey County. They waffle back and forth.
That sounds really fun.
If you just joined us, speaking with Kischka Bluspiro, she is with Sunday Assembly. It's a worldwide not cult that is formed to provide some of the great things that religion provides, that churches provide, except for the religion part. So you could say it's a atheist, maybe, or a religious.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. That's been kind of a point of debate amongst the different Sunday assemblies particularly around the U.S. about, is this an atheist organization or is it just a secular organization? And the feeling has really been they don't want to exclude anyone. If someone is religious, they're welcome to come. It's just we don't do religion in this group.
So they could go first to their church, then they could go to the Sunday Assembly and have all day long gatherings.
Sure. Or, church 3 weeks a month and then Sunday Assembly once a month because they typically only meet once a month.
It's hard to grow something from scratch. Is there a kind of a playbook that the people in the UK are using to recruit, non-cult members or people who want to come?
I've talked to some of the people that have started up groups in the UK, and it's all different. One of the groups, a woman who had been attending a Sunday assembly somewhere else, she wanted to start one in her hometown. She found one friend who wanted to help her, and they got some of their community. They belong to sort of a poet community, so they started getting poets to come and read poems, and it just sort of formed a community around that.
I love that. Sounds like a salon. In the old days of the Victorian era, people would recite or do their little party piece or do a seance or two.
Uh-huh.
That's probably not what you do, but that's too religious. But drawing from specific communities sounds like a really cool idea.
Yeah, so here in Santa Cruz, I've really been just trying to advertise to people who are looking for a community.
There's something called a meetup on the web, and Nextdoor has, I don't know, what they have, but there's a lot of online spaces which are really different than face-to-face spaces, which is what you are creating.
Right. So Meetup is actually used for in-person gatherings as well as online. So we have a Meetup page. All our events are listed on Meetup under Sunday Assembly Santa Cruz. We also have a Facebook group. I try to advertise on Nextdoor as well each month, and we're getting our website up and running as well. So I'm trying to get the word out any way that I can.
Well, K-Squid's a great way to do that because a lot of our listeners are very interested in the idea of community and building community. That's actually in our mission. And we do that partly through spreading the word about other community organizing events that are happening, such as the work with YAR, the Your Allied Rapid Response Group that's doing some trainings. We try to give people some space to talk about what they're doing. So I'm happy that you got in touch with us because this is the place. And we also offer to any community group that's listening a public service announcements. We have a whole binder of them right there. It's full of announcements that we read for free just because we're good community buddies. And it's nice to hear about what you're doing. We have just a little bit more time. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with, or a story perhaps about one of your gatherings?
Well, I guess the thing I wanted to also talk about is that we have our assembly once a month, but in between that, we have what they call smoops, which are small groups, and those can be organized around an interest that anyone in the community has. So far we've got a coffee and conversation smoop that meets once a month, and it's just for casual conversation. We're going to have a board game smoop, a book club, a movie night. So even people who don't like the format of the assembly, maybe people who think it's too church-like or don't like singing or aren't available on that month.
How could you not like singing?
They can also join our community by coming to one of these other groups, which are also all advertised on our Meetup.
So that's the best place to connect with you, is probably on the meetup. Do you have a website yet?
Not quite, but when we do, I'm just getting it up and running. It'll be Sunday Assembly Santa Cruz.org.
Great. Well, I'm sure people will be interested in getting in touch with you. Do you have any other way you'd like them to reach you out, through email or anything?
There's an email set up called welcome@sundayassemblysantaCruz.org, so anyone can email us that way. And I just want to say one more time, our next assembly will be our first one at the library. That'll be Sunday, March 1st at 11 a.m.
Are you allowed to eat in the library?
Yes.
Oh, good, because food is an important part of a gathering.
Yeah, and actually that is a part of most Sunday assemblies. So our gathering will be followed by a potluck, and hope to see people there with food to share.
So one last question before we go. Just how has been organizing this project for you served your life? Like, how has it enriched you in some way?
Well, it's bringing people together to build community is something that I really love doing. It just, when I see people meeting because of some event that I have organized, that makes me really happy. So it's been a great thing for me to do in retirement, something that kind of gives me a feeling of purpose.
We all need that. We all need that, for sure, even more so right now. Well, Kischka Bluspiro, thank you for coming in to the station, to being on Talk of the Bay. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having me.
We'll read about it in local papers after this.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.